Hello and welcome to another episode of the Be For Real #Leaders Matter. I'm Dr. E. Michelle Mickens and I'm the CEO of Live for Change. And I have a question for you. Are you ready? I have another question. Are you prepared? So this particular episode was actually inspired by an article that I read earlier this week. The article, I want to say the name correctly. The article was about the coronavirus, right? Everybody's talking about it. And the article reads how the coronavirus is forcing companies to change their culture. This was an article that was put out by Inc.com. And this was put out a couple of days ago, March 3rd to be exact. And so it just made me think about how ready we are, especially, of course, from a leadership perspective. You know, you have to have emotional intelligence at work when it comes to how you're going to communicate an urgent circumstance or a crisis. And so my question to you is, are you prepared? Do you have a crisis management plan in place? Are you prepared to communicate an urgent or crisis situation? Because whether it's the coronavirus or something else, are you ready? Now, of course, you're not going to have from A to Z everything that needs to take place. But one thing that will help you as a leader is one thing that's going to help you reduce any fear and anxiety is preparedness. Preparedness usurps panic. And it's real easy to incite fear. As a matter of fact, I honestly believe that one of the reasons why there was a delay, I'm not justifying it, I'm not saying that I 100% agreed, but one of the reasons why I believe, at least one, that the United States did not react as quickly or as we'll say as quickly as many perceive that they should have, is because they didn't want to, political leaders, our president, did not want to incite panic. When you operate in a space of panic and fear, you're able to make more mistakes, you stumble. And so I believe that might be at least one reason why there was some delay. I believe that Trump's administration, was abreast on everything that was happening long before we started getting word of the number of deaths and related to the coronavirus. But as a leader, how ready are you to disseminate this information to your team? How you do it matters just as much as doing it. Because I mentioned earlier, emotional intelligence and social intelligence are two critical components to how you deal with a crisis. Emotional intelligence, as many of you all know, it has to do with self-awareness, and it has to do with how you display empathy. But it also has to do with how you control your own emotions. So you definitely want to be aware of how you're feeling in a crisis situation, or when you're about to convey a message that may be negative, it may be hurtful, it may be something that you don't necessarily want to deal with. How are you feeling about it? Making sure that your emotions are intact. But you also want to control the emotions of those who you're sharing this information with. And you have that ability to do so if you also employ that social intelligence component, where you're able to read your people, read their mood, ask them questions, engage with them, and really being able to step in their shoes. Are you able to do that before you start telling them, all right, this is the crisis, this is what we need to do? Before you jump in with that, get a sense as to where they are and begin to ask questions before you can, tell the message, as well as after. Encourage them to ask questions. You're not going to have all the answers, and that's okay. And you can let them know to the best of your ability. This is the information that I have. Give them resources. Give them all the resources that you can. Go to this website and read more about the coronavirus. You know, educate yourself and educate them, and give them the opportunity to even become more educated, because that shows that you trust them, that they can trust you. You're trusting them to do what they need to do to protect themselves, but also you're letting them know that you care enough about them that you're doing what you can to protect them. So you're building trust, but you also want to pay attention to how you communicate the information. So I have a couple of things that I want to share with you that I believe is going to just be more advantageous as you go through this whole process of telling them not so much just about the coronavirus, but of course, if you have not talked to your staff and your team about the coronavirus, then you absolutely want to be as proactive as you can. Because I'll say this, inaction, being a reaction, inaction actually is detrimental to your credibility and to your organization. So you don't want to ignore it. You don't want to allow the culture in your organization to be such that people are having these side conversations. A lot of times misinformation is spread and panic eventually ensues. And you're not going to get things that need to be done because your day-to-day operations must continue. So you want to kind of grab the bull by the horn, so to speak, and take control over how the information is conveyed. You be the voice, you tell the truth to the best of your knowledge, and you give them the resources. But when you take that control, that should at least squelch a lot of the rumors and a lot of misinformation. And then give everybody an opportunity to have a voice. And of course, I say everybody, but you use wisdom as to how many people are going to have an opinion, because it's really not about opinions. You're not even voicing your own opinion. You're trying to convey information that is needed and to demonstrate that this is a process of how our organization is going to deal with this information. You're the one that's setting that tone. And that's critical. If nobody else's voice is heard, your voice needs to be heard in the organization, right? So that's one thing, or a few things that I want to share with you. But something else. Is crisis management a priority in your organization? One of the things that in the article that I read, it said that the coronavirus is forcing culture change. And a crisis often will do that. A crisis will force a situation to occur. And that could be for the better, in the sense that if you already knew that there were some things that needed to change so that your organization can grow and become unstuck, then crisis is something that usually will jolt and cause that change to happen. But if you have a crisis management plan in place, and the best time to have that is when you're in that planning stage, when you're putting together your strategic plan. You want to have a well thought out communications plan, and somewhere in that plan you should have a crisis management component and or a risk management piece. So is that a priority in your organization? That's one question that I have for you. Do you need help putting that kind of a plan together? That's something that we do here at Live for Change. We are a leadership development consultancy, and strategic planning, leadership development planning, succession planning, there are all of those different components that's necessary when you're trying to have an organized organization. That's something that we definitely can talk about. So is that something that you would like? Just let me know. You can hit me up. But how does all of this make you feel as a leader? That's something that you should be asking yourself. How am I feeling right now? Having these types of conversations is not easy, but that is absolutely one of the duties of good leadership, is to address head on the hard stuff, right? Deal with the hard hitting issues. And you don't want to find yourself always being triggered by a crisis to have these hard hitting conversations. As best as you can, if you know that a fire has started, you don't want to wait till things are ablaze before you say, okay, let's try to deal with this fire, right? You want to immediately try to put it out, do what you can to offset the conversation. But if that doesn't work, you don't want to avoid it. And you don't want to wait until things escalate to the degree where you have no control over what happens next. So one of the things that you might also want to consider, especially as it pertains to this coronavirus, are you in a position where you can work virtually? Now, many of us, if you're a solopreneur or you're an online business, you don't have an issue, right? You have things in place. You're set up to do most, if not all, of your business online. So that's not going to be your issue. But if you, are not set up that way, how would you make that transition so that you would have a virtual team and you would be able to work with your crew remotely? Again, if that's something that you need to explore more, you can connect with Live for Change, connect with me, and let me know, what some of your needs are. We would have those kind of conversations and drill down to what would be a great plan of action that's going to effectively keep you intact, keep your business moving forward as a leader, keeping the lines of communication open, and actually allowing your team the ability to work independently and still be productive. And there's all kind of ways to do that. But my question to you is, are you ready to do it? So we can have a deeper, more connected conversation about being ready virtually, being prepared, and not functioning from a place of panic. I'm Dr. E. Michelle Mickens. Please connect with me. I'll make sure that all of my information is in the description bar. Be blessed, be encouraged, be safe, and stay in peace. All right, until next time, take care.